World Trade Organization appoints Nigeria's Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala as new Director General. WTO's new bus puts vaccine supplies at top of her in tray, just as President Muhammadu Buhari and others congratulate her. Inflation rises by 16.47% in January 2021. Plus, Asia-Pacific stocks rise. Mainland China markets remain closed for Lunar New Year holiday. This is Business Express on the network service of the NTA, and we are reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Benny Adams, your guide. Good to have you join us at this time. Latest figures from the National Bureau of Statistics show that the Consumer Price Index, which measures inflation, increased by 16.47% year-on-year in January 2021, indicating 0.71% points increase, higher than the rate recorded in December 2020, which is 15.75%. Increases were recorded in all COI-COP divisions that yielded the headline index. On month-on-month basis, the headline index increased by 1.49% in January 2021, 0.12 percentage points lower than the rate recorded in December 2020. Urban inflation rate increased by 17.03% year-on-year in January 2021 from 16.33% recorded in December 2020, while the rural inflation rate increased by 15.92% in January 2021 from 15.20% in December 2020. On a month-on-month basis, the urban index rose by 1.52% in January 2021, while the rural index also rose by 1.46% in January 2021. The composite food index rose by 20.57% in January 2021 compared to 19.56% in December 2020. This rise in food index was caused by increases in prices of bread and cereals, potatoes, yam and other tubers, meat, fruits, vegetable, fish, oils and fats. Nigeria's Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala has made history as she becomes the first woman and the first African to lead the Geneva-based global trade governing body, the World Trade Organization. Adebola Brookslyn Sunday reports that the General Council in a special meeting confirmed her appointment.
A two-time Minister of Finance in Nigeria and former Managing Director Operations, World Bank, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, is the World Health Organization and African Union COVID-19 envoy, former board chair at Gavi, a global vaccine alliance that promotes equitable access to COVID-19 vaccine. The General Council chair, David Walker, in a statement said Dr. Okonjo-Iweala clearly got the largest support by members at the final round, an assessment that was challenged by the Trump administration before the withdrawal of our challenger, Yoon Myung-hee of South Korea. U.S. Trade Representative said the Harvard-educated Okonjo-Iweala is widely respected for her effective leadership and has proven experience in managing a large international organization with diverse membership. Founded in 1995 with all her 5 predecessors men.
Wow, this is a very significant moment for the WTO. On behalf of the General Council, I extend our warmest congratulations to Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala on her appointment. So agreed.
Dr. Okonjo-Iweala is taking the helms of affairs at WTO at a very challenging time when the global trade is nosediving following the COVID-19 pandemic and when the Africa Continental Free Trade Area is coming on board to effectively remove trade barriers among African countries.
An African being at the forefront, being the Director General of the World Trade Organization, whose role is to enable fair trade between nations, we cannot but have a positive effect on what we're trying to do in Africa.
The challenges facing the WTO are numerous and tricky, but they are not insurmountable. There is hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel if we work together in a transparent manner that builds trust, builds bridges, diffuses political tensions, and encourages convergence.
Her term starts on the 1st of March 2021.
Meanwhile, Musa Babaliu compiled some messages on the appointment of Nigeria's Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala as the Director General of the World Trade Organization. Enjoy it.
The European Union described Ngozi's appointment as historic, having a woman and from Africa to help the World Trade Organization since inception. The International Trade Council also rejoiced with Mrs. Iweala, promising to work with her to realize the multilateral trading that will bring the voices of MSMEs forward. OPEC Secretary General Mohamed Sanusi Barkindo commended the General Council of the World Trade Organization for the historic nature of the appointment of Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. I've known Ngozi for many years. Her strong will and determination would drive her to tirelessly promote free trade to the benefit of people worldwide. We are the words of Christine Lagarde, former Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, while congratulating the new DG of WTO. And the former Liberian President, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, said it is a honor to witness new WTO DG's groundbreaking journey. And back home, the President of the Senate, Ahmad Lawan, urged the new Director General to deploy her intellect, experience, energy, and integrity in leading the WTO to promote global prosperity through fair trade. And the Speaker House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, says the unanimous confirmation of Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala by the General Council of the WTO is a testament to her years of experience in the financial sector, both at home and abroad. And the Foreign Affairs Minister, Geoffrey Nwanyama, in a congratulatory message, described Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala's appointment as well-deserved.
Nigeria's Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala leads World Trade Organization, meets the renowned world-class economist who broke the jinx as the first woman, an African, to head the organization, as packaged by yours truly. Here comes Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala on track to run the global multilateral trade body, the World Trade Organization.
The narrative of a rising Africa.
Come March 1st, she is expected to hit the ground running, and she sounds confident.
Organizations like the WHO, Gavi, CEPI, even the World Bank, IMF, and all those multilaterals to try to set the rules so that next time we don't spend time trying to figure out how to respond. It will just trigger a set of actions.
The race started with a hurdle at her home country, Nigeria.
We already had nominated another candidate, but Mr. President insisted that he wanted Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala to represent Nigeria, so we had to withdraw the previous nomination and present her. His foresight has led, and it has culminated into her being elected as the DG of the WTO.
On the continental scene, her 30 years experience on the global stage gave her the edge over two other major contenders from Egypt and Kenya. Having garnered support from member states, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala was to face another big challenge, this time around from her second home, the United States of America. But faith and opportunity yet again reared their heads, with events culminating in the eventual ouster of the last contender. Then came the endorsement to victory.
So agreed.
our membership of the WTO and our being in the driving seat of the African continental free trade gives us the opportunity to actually enjoy the two opportunities and facilities.
Dynamic towards essential, discovery of those niche products that can market Nigeria the more.
With vast knowledge in development economics, trade, and finance, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala is believed to have the skill set to lead the WTO as she promises to deliver outcomes, unite the global North and South, build trust, and work towards access to life-saving vaccines as efforts towards recovery of world economy continues. Well, still celebrating our own, Nigeria's Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, formally appointed as the 7th Director General of the World Trade Organization, has vowed to tackle her top priorities of fighting against the COVID-19 pandemic and promoting the free flow of vaccines and medical supplies, breaking logjam in the dispute settlement mechanism, and reaching a deal to cut fisheries subsidies. To discuss what this means and what would do to world and African continent is an economist, Usheu Aliu, who joins us via telephone from Zaria. Usheu, a very good morning to you.
Thank you. Good morning, and good morning, Nigeria.
Okay, can you hear me? If you can hear me, can you speak a bit louder?
Yeah, I can hear you. This position that has come to Nigeria through Professor Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala is a good campaign for Africa, and it's also a good...
Okay, good, Isheo. What does this appointment mean for global trade amid trade wars and COVID-19?
We are going to have a new trade policy, and we are going to have a very new convenient trade agreement. If you check carefully, the Africa where Professor Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala came from has already entered into agreement, an Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, which is a good time for it to start. And at the same time, the professor has a vast experience in monetary policy, has a vast experience in managing a lot of financial issues around the globe. So it's going to be a more convenient situation where we have better trade policies, better trade agreement, and at the same time, we are going to have a new dimension to trade agreements.
Okay, Usheu, talking about trade agreements, only about 12% of global trade is within Africa. How did we get here, and how can we actually get out of here?
It's by setting our domestic policies in order. That is why I spoke about the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, which has come to stay. If we have this as an advantage, looking at the vast population, looking at the vast market, looking at the vast opportunities in Africa, we are expecting to change our trade policies from just importing a continent to exporting continent, where we have a major agreement, especially with our contenders or with our serious trade partners, including China, the European Union, and part of the Asians.
Okay, still talking about the opportunities in the AFCFTA. What would Nigeria exactly be trading in this market?
The greatest advantage there is the fact that Nigeria is surrounded by French-speaking former colonies that have a different trade dimension and policies. If you check even the monetary policies under ECOWAS, there has been an agreement to establish a common currency that will facilitate trade within the sub-region, but eventually we have seen a new dimension to that. But what we are thinking by Professor Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, that we are expecting to have a shift in an attempt to agree on terms and conditions that will warrant the agreed product to be traded and to be transported within the sub-region. And as well, if you check the African continent, Nigeria is the biggest economy, followed by South Africa, but other economies are coming up, including the Burundi economy, the Rwandan economy, and even the Kenyan economy. So when you have a trade policy that is guided by an African in the world trade, no matter even if it is 12%, we are expecting to see a rise in the percentage participation, and not only participation, we are expecting to have complementary agreements.
Okay, talking about agreement, I understand also the rules of origin agreements are yet to be reached by all member states. Nigeria, for one, exports commodities, and there is this school of thought in economics, if I'm correct, that believe exporting commodities is like exporting jobs. What is your take on that?
It depends on how you look at it. There must be trade between nations, and you engage into trade where you have best option to send your commodities to international market. And when you must have the expertise, you must have the technology recently, and you must have the advantage of packaging. These are important. But in my own understanding of the concept of international trade is a situation where there has been pointed out probably by Adam Smith. People will look at the advantage on ground. No, there is no. You cannot export rice if you are not producing rice as a commodity. You cannot export. You cannot export cars, electronic cars, if you don't have the capacity and if you don't have the investment. So, but now with the different policies on ground, especially the special economic zone as advocated by the present administration, there is need to call investors. Investors to study the consumption pattern of different economies. That is what other economies are doing. That is, let me give you an instance, the Chinese economy. Chinese economy is not that they have the perfect technology. It's not that they have the perfect production of commodities or packaging, but they understood the consumption pattern of different economies. And that is why they are advancing. But the best way to do it as an importing economy is to reach an agreement that a certain percentage of the product can be imported to our economy, but a certain proportion or percentage must be produced in our economy so that we create jobs. You know, when you are not creating jobs and you allow trade policies to take away a lot of jobs, it means that prices of goods in that economy will always be high. Or even if it is high, the consumer's confidence in the market will always be eroded based on the determination of the exporting country.
Okay, like you mentioned, the export, the free zones, the economic zones is a very good initiative. But you also agree with me that for us to compete favorably at the continental level as well as globally, you agree with me that there needs to be more value addition on manufacturing. How do we get that to be done?
By investing so much in critical infrastructure. These critical infrastructure include power. When you don't have an advantage of power supply, no matter what when you produce, it's going to be on a high cost. And if it is on the high cost, you are going to be competed out in the international market. That is one. Two, we have to also study our human relationship within the same economy. What I mean by our relationship, being a nation, for instance, in Africa, now that Professor Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala is a Nigerian, she has done well in other, especially in the World Bank and also as finance minister. We are expecting better options, better solutions coming out from her. But in my own opinion, we have to invest so much in critical infrastructures. And I can assure you that based on what I am seeing, for instance, investing in railway. Railway is very, very significant to have a common currency. Railway is very important to reduce costs of many goods that are being transacted within the same economy. But deal with that. There is need to government to understand the tax policies. This fact that even IMF is agitating is going to be counterproductive. You cannot be increasing value-added tax because you want to add value to your infrastructure. The best way to do it, you have to search for a new variety of income from that economy. You cannot exhaust all, but you have to look at the situation and capitalize on the advantage you have, and then take that advantage and invest into that same economy. When we invest into that same economy, there is likelihood that all things held constant. The investment of government, the investment of individuals, and the investment of investors within and outside this continent would add value to the African state because of our ingenuity and our commitment. Let me tell you, let me assure you, it is not the first time Africa is presenting a very wonderful candidate to the world. Ghana has produced Kofi Annan. Kofi Annan has done very well in international policies. So we are expecting, and even of recent, Professor Bande, who has been the president of the General Assembly of the United Nations, he has done very well. But Ngozi can do better because the current situation we are having in the world is a war, is an economy that is engaged in a lot of trade, and there is a lot of challenges that is coming to Professor. No matter when she is even talking about investing in vaccine and allowing vaccine to freely move, there is need to know that this lockdown that is locking down serious businesses around the globe is, if it continues, then there is going to be counterproductive to any effort she's going to make in relation to trade between nations. But
okay, Ushewu, why we look forward to that happening as she gets into office come March 1st. We're talking about value addition on infrastructure. The federal government is supporting Infraco, talking about the infrastructure company that has come on board, and President Muhammadu Buhari has supported it with a seed takeoff, a seed grant of 1 trillion naira, and which is expected to grow up to 15 trillion. Don't you see that bridging the infrastructure deficit we have, that will also lead to adequate power supply, that will lead to reduction in cost of production?
I commend President Buhari, I commend his economic team for having that infrastructure investment to Nigeria. Definitely these are the kind of investment, but federal government investment alone cannot, because of the high deficit of infrastructure in the economy, there is a need for the governors forum to sit down, to look for investors who have been traveling worldwide. They are trade partners. Let them agree to form something that is similar to what the federal government is doing. If we have that, the capacity of the economy can take any amount. Not 1 trillion, not 10 trillion. The United States alone has invested more than 15 trillion from the Chinese fund to their infrastructure. So if Nigeria, as we are, with a very high deficit, this high deficit requires so much commitment. But like I said in the beginning, I commend President Buhari is a value-added investment to our economy, and also the professor that is now going to take office in March. Professor is very sympathetic to Nigerian project. This is a professor,
and it is something, Ishewu, and it is something we celebrate and will continue to celebrate. Lastly, for want of time, inflation figures are on the rise. The latest is 16.74 as against the 15.75 we witnessed in December. What does that mean? What can we do to bring this food inflation down, particularly?
Government has to make to check the monetary policy, whereby a lot of investment should be taken to manufacturing and also the food supply, because the highest inflation recorded is on food items. So government has to check the supplies. If you don't check the supplies, inflation will continue to go higher. You check the average production per agricultural zone, and you check the population, and you check the price level. When you also check, you have to check the income. And when you check this income, there are things which government must not do. That attempt by the government to increase the pump price of PMS, premium motor spirit, will increase the volume of inflation in this economy. I am saying this because of the fact that the petroleum motor spirit, the PMS, premium motor spirit, has an elastic demand. And when it
thank you so very much, Ushewu Aliu. You're talking about elastic demands taking us deeper into economics, and we understand that the Bankers Committee of the CBN retained the parameters as we had. But looking into events, I think there will be need for review to have much more money into the system to encourage manufacturing. Thank you so very much for sharing your time with us.
Thank you very much. I'm grateful.
Moving on, Asia Pacific stocks rise. Mainland China markets remain closed for Lunar New Year holiday. Neka Oko reports.
In Asia, Hong Kong Asian shares rallied Tuesday, setting the stage for world equities to extend their bull run for a 12th consecutive session as investors banked on a rollout of coronavirus vaccines to keep the global economic recovery on track. Markets in mainland China remained closed for the Lunar New Year holiday. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 advanced 1.28%. Stocks tied to the major U.S. stock indices rose in extended trading Monday evening after finishing strong last week. Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 250 points, suggesting an implied open of about the same magnitude, while S&P 500 contracts added 0.7%. Nasdaq 100 gained 0.7%. European shares ended at a near one-year high on Monday, but markets this Tuesday are yet to post numbers. Stocks in Africa closed positive Monday as well and are expected to maintain momentum on vaccine hopes. Neka Oko, Business Express.
With Neka Oko's package, we end this episode of the program. Don't forget you can access this and all previous episodes on YouTube. You can also communicate with us on Twitter and handle us at NTA News Now. The hashtag is BizX. We value your feedback. Do join us again on Wednesday at 3 p.m. for another package.